What is up, guys? Winner Kills here. Welcome to a brand new deck profile. I've got a couple of deck profiles that I'm going to be posting here in the future. I'm in the process of trying to pick up a whole bunch of different decks right now, learn a bunch of decks and play a bunch of decks that I've been trying to play for the past couple of years, I guess. I've just been so focused on Mermail, and I've kind of forgotten about all the other decks that I like to play. But this is courtesy of my brother. He has had this Fluffal stuff sitting around for a long time. And I know we still don't have Patchwork. I know, press F to pay respects. Hopefully we'll get that card soon because it's bonkers. But anyways, we threw the deck together. We've played it actually a couple times on stream. The deck's actually pretty good. It's got a lot of draw power and it has a lot of OTK potential. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so to get started, we'll start with the monster lineup as usual. We have triple Fluffal Penguin. Basically, during your main phase, you can special summon another Fluffal monster from hand except himself, so that helps to get fusion fodder on the board. Helps with link plays as well, and then he also has the effect, and the effect of special is only once while he's face up on the field, sort of like Firewall's first effect to bounce 2 cards, or up to 2 or 4 cards, I guess would be the proper assumption. But anyways, his other effect, if he is sent to the graveyard for the fusion summon of a Fluffal monster, or a Frightfur fusion monster, you can draw 2 and discard 1. So using this guy for, fusion plays is pretty much optimal, because you get the draw 2, discard 1, and you put an Edgem Sabers in grave, or anything like that. We'll go ahead and move on to our next card, which is 3 Fluffal Dog. You gotta play triple Fluffal Dog, because when he's normal or special, you get to add 1 Edgem Sabers or Fluffal monster from deck to hand except himself, and it's really basically just a Stratos for the deck, so you kind of want to play 3 this guy. Level 4, I guess another thing with the special is you can summon out something like this. He'll get his effect. You can go into a Link, you can go into an Ixies, a rank 4, so good synergy there. And then we'll go on to the next card that we're playing is going to be triple Fluffal Bear. Basically, this guy, you just pitch him, and you can set Toy Vendor directly from your deck. If he's also on the field, you can tribute him to add a Polymerization in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And you can only use 1 effect per turn, so it's either one or the other of himself. It's a hard once per turn. But in most cases, you're just going to use him to pitch to get the Toy Vendor. Toy Vendor is really, really powerful in the deck. Sets up a lot of draws. When it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search, I'm pretty sure. And a card that combos extremely well, of course, with the Toy Vendor is the Fluffal Wings. So basically, with this guy, he sets up a lot of draw power. You pitch him. You could ideally pitch him off of Toy Vendor to draw and reveal. If it's a Fluffal, you get to special summon. If not, I think it goes to the grave. But its other effect is if you control Toy Vendor and he's in your grave, you can banish himself and another Fluffal to draw. And then if you do that, you can send the Toy Vendor you control to the grave to draw an additional card, and then at that point you'd get a search, I believe, off of Toy Vendor. And this guy is just really good off the Toy Vendor combo, really, because that combo in of itself just draws you a bunch of cards. Very, very good combo. Obviously, this card is a 3-of. Actually, play some 1-ofs here. One is going to be Fluffal Owl. When this card is normal or special summon from the hand, you can add a Polymerization from deck to hand. And then the other effect is you can pay 500 life points to special summon 1 Frightfur fusion monster from your extra deck. So basically you pay 500 and he acts as Polymerization on the board. And you don't have to use himself, so that's really nice. And then we play 1 Octopus. This guy grabs resources back from grave as well as banishment. So it's a nice one-of to play, I think, because adding those resources back late game is sometimes pretty crucial. And then we play the 1 Sheep. This guy you can just special summon if you control another Fluffal monster. Sets up link plays, etc., etc. You could play 2 of these if you want, but it's not bad as a 1-of, I would think. So that's it for the Fluffals. We'll go ahead and go into the Edgem cards now. The other cards that you have to play in the main deck. 3 Chain. This is basically just an ender requirement. You need Chain for some of the monsters that you play. When he declares, you can add himself from deck to hand. That's really nice, obviously, for deck thinning. Level 4 Dark, obviously good for fusions. And then we play 2 Sabers. This card's in your grave. You can place a card from your hand on the top of your deck, and then you can special summon them in defense position. Very good. You need this guy for a lot of fusions as well. Probably one of the better cards in the deck. And then we play 1 Edgem Tomahawk. This guy, I believe, has the ability to copy, any edge imp in your grave. Basically, you can send one edge imp monster from your hand to the graveyard, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. You can send one edge imp monster from your deck to the graveyard, except edge imp Tomahawk. This card's name becomes the set monster's name into the end phase. So you can use him to send a chain or a sabers to get it to the graveyard. The copying the effect really doesn't matter. Just the fact that it acts as a free foolish to get something like chains or primarily sabers in grave is pretty good on its own. You can also play Fluffal-Cat as well. I guess that'd be another honorable mention here if you decide not to play the Tomahawk. Fluffal-Cat is not a bad option. We'll go on here and go into the other monsters that are non-Fluffal or Frightfur or Edge Imp. 3 King of the Swamp, you just pitch to add a polymerization, or you can, use him as one of the materials for the summon of a fusion monster. This is just basically 3 additional copies of polymerization. You kind of want to play him, just because playing like 6 or 7 copies of poly is pretty cool, especially in a deck like this. And then the last 3 cards, Triple Droll and Lockbird, because if you're going to play 3 hand traps in the main, Triple Droll and Lock is probably the best, especially with this deck's playstyle. You just stop your opponent's turn dead in the water, and then you just OTK him with Wolf and Tiger, and then you just, yeah, that's pretty much what the deck wants to do. And then we'll go into the spells here. Triple Toy Vendor, a standard must-have in this deck at 3 easily. Sets up a lot of draws and searches. Definitely need this. Another card, Foolish Burial Goods. You can send Toy Vendors to the grave. You can send Metal Foes Fusion if you're playing Metal Foes Fusion as well. You can send Fusion Substitute to the grave. You can send Toy Vendor. I think sending Toy Vendor is probably just the best card to send, just because it does have that synergy. Because when Toy Vendor is sent to the grave, you can add an Edge Imp Sabers or Fluffal monster from your deck to hand. So obviously, being able to send and search, very nice. You can also send Metal Foes Fusion if you're playing it, and you can also send a copy of itself to the graveyard if you just want a deck then. Then next we have 2 polys and 1 substitute, because you can't obviously play 3 of each, because this is polymerization technically. Double Frightfur Fusion. This card is really, really good. You definitely want to play at least 2 of those. Factory's nice. If Patchwork was out, you probably wouldn't play Factory. You'd probably play just triple Patchwork, and I don't even know if you'd play Frightfur Fusion at that point. And then we have Raigeki, we have Foolish, and we have Monster Reborn. I believe it's like a 42 card main deck, which isn't too bad considering the deck has a lot of draw power. Next we'll go into the extra deck, which is primarily going to consist of a lot of fusions. We have 2 Sabertooth. I think 2 is fine because it requires another Fluffal fusion monster, as well as the Fluffal or Edge Imp card to go along with it. Basically, if you don't know what this guy does, when this card is fusion summoned, you can target 1 Frightfur monster in your graveyard. You get to reborn it, and then all Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack. If this card was fusion summoned using 3 or 4 fusion monsters, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, which when using a card like Frightfur Fusion, you can use a lot of stuff from grave, so that isn't always an impossibility. Then next we play 2 Kraken, 2200 defense, 3000 attack. I believe you can just send an opponent's monster you control to the grave once per turn, but it cannot attack during that turn, and you just usually throw them in defense and just kind of wall up on them. I believe his other effect is this card can make a second attack during each battle phase. Once per turn at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, you can change this card to defense position. So yeah, he's sort of like a Dante in some cases. With that changing of the battle position. Next, this card would probably be played at 3. I'd recommend playing this probably at 3, honestly. We don't have a third one right now, but if you have 3, I would recommend playing it. You see Edge Imp Sabers and a Fluffal monster. When this guy hits the board, basically you can target cards equal to the number of monsters used as like fusion summon, and then you destroy the same number of cards on your opponent's side of the field. I believe that's how it is. Fusion summon, destroy them all, and then Frightfur monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Fluffal monster and Frightfur monster you control. So usually when you get like Tiger and like Sabertooth on board, and you have like one other monster on board, like everything just starts gaining more and more attack, because it's a 400 there, 400 there, 300 there, 300 there. It just adds up after a while. Then next we play 2 Wolf. This guy is like your main card to go for game with. Basically, 2000 attack to start. Must be fusion summoned with obviously Edge Imp Sabers plus 1 or more Fluffal. This card can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon. So if you get up to like 4 with this card, it's attacking 4 times at whatever attack boost it might be gaining at that moment. And obviously just off the bat, that's 8,000 damage of just him attacking 4 times alone. And then last but not least for the Frightfurs is the sheep. You can make this guy with Edge of Chain, another Fluffal monster. When he dies, he just keeps coming back and he gains Edge of Attack as well. Yeah. So if this card is destroyed by battle instead of the graveyard and you're in your possession and destroyed by opponent's card, if I can set the grave, you can special summon this card, and if you do, it gains 800 attack. And this card that attacks, your opponent cannot activate anything in response until the end of the damage step. So it's basically like an Armades as well. So very, very powerful card. Just keeps coming back. You could also instant fusion this out too if you wanted to. You could use it for fodder as well for fusion summons if you didn't have anything you needed at the moment if you're playing instant fusion. Other cards would be Underclock Taker, Mrs. Radiant, Decode Talker, Tornado Dragon, Abyss Dweller, and number 41 Baguzga, the terribly tired tap here. I think probably what would be cut in the future if you were going to play a third Tiger or a third Sabertooth, you could probably just cut Baguzga as well as Underclock Taker and leave Radiant, or you could cut Radiant and leave Underclock Taker and Decode, because you definitely need some Link monsters in this deck to play it properly, I suppose. Now I'm going to go into some honorable mentions, some other cards that you could play in the deck. Like I said, that I'm not playing currently, or that my brother's not playing currently in this build. One would be Fusion Recycling Plant. You could play Frightfur March, Metalfoes Fusion, and Suture Rebirth, which is just a reborn for any Fluffal or Frightfur monster in your graveyard. You could play this if you'd like. March is a counter trap, which you can set from deck using, I believe Bear could set this card. When an opponent's spell, trap, or monster effect is activated that targets a Frightfur monster you control or monsters, negate the activation, you destroy it. Then you can send one of the targeted Frightfur monsters to the graveyard, and if you do special summon 1 level 8 or higher Frightfur fusion monster from your extra deck, it's treated as a fusion summon. And then during your next end phase, banish the monster special summoned by this effect. So it's pretty cool. Obviously, the Metalfoes Fusion you could just play to send off goods. And then you have Recycling Plant, which is a pretty cool card if you don't know what it does. Basically, once per turn, you can discard 1 card, add a poly from deck to hand, and then once per turn during the end phase, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard that was used for a fusion material of a fusion monster this turn and add it back. So it does exactly what the card says. It just recycles your fusions. It's definitely a recycling plant, if you will. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this Fluffal deck profile. I'll put the dog on the top of the deck because he's just so darn cute. But yeah, that's it for this deck profile of Fluffals. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, these are some honorable mentions that you could play. Honestly, you could just probably throw this card in the main deck. It wouldn't be that bad. And as I said earlier, the cat as well as a card you could play instead of, I think, the Edge of Tomahawk. If you wanted to. If you don't like Tomahawk and you want to play cat, feel free to go ahead and play the cat. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this deck profile. And if you did, be sure to leave a like. And as always, when we kill sign out, we'll see you in the next one.